Derek Carter had built his career at the top of the corporate world, until one fateful betrayal sent him spiraling into a web of deceit, corruption, and corporate espionage. As the IT director of a cutting-edge tech firm, he thought he had it all: power, respect, and a future in his hands. But when he's wrongfully replaced by a new CEO and discovers a trail of corporate fraud that runs deeper than he ever imagined, Derek's world is shattered. Now, with everything he's worked for on the line, Derek must navigate a dangerous path filled with hidden agendas, stolen codes, and his former colleagues turned enemies. As he hunts down the man who destroyed him, Derek discovers that the battle isn't just for control of the company. It's a fight to save national security from a weaponized platform that could change everything. Will he expose the truth before it's too late, or will the system that betrayed him claim its final victory? My name's Cameron Doyle. I'm 45 years old, and for 22 of those years, I've been behind the wheel of a semi-truck. Not exactly a glamorous life, but it paid the bills and kept my wife Dana in the lifestyle she never quite appreciated. I've hauled freight through snowstorms in Montana and through tornado warnings in Oklahoma, and I thought I'd seen it all until life hit me with something I never expected. It started with a tightness in my chest. Nothing major at first, just a nagging discomfort that I chalked up to stress, long hours, and terrible roadside coffee. It got worse outside Omaha. I had to pull over. The pain was so sharp, I couldn't think. Called 911 myself and told them where to find me. They airlifted me to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Turns out, it wasn't a panic attack. My heart was shutting down. I remember the doctor's face right before everything went black. "We're losing him," she said. Not something you ever want to hear as you fade out. I flatlined twice, they told me later. 2 days in the ICU with tubes in my arms and a stent in my heart. The nurse said I was lucky, but when I checked my phone, I didn't feel lucky at all. There was only one message from Dana. Just one. We'd been married 15 years, no kids. Just a house in Sioux Falls and years of quiet dinners when I was home between long hauls. The message had a screenshot of our joint account. Balance, $0. And below it, she wrote, "I deserve this after everything I've done for you. $61,000, my emergency fund, my truck maintenance reserve, my retirement cushion, all gone. I should have felt rage. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I sent her a thumbs-up emoji. Nothing more. When the doctor came in the next morning, he told me I'd need rest and low stress. No driving for at least 6 weeks. He asked if someone was picking me up. Yeah, I lied. That night, I called my brother Jeff. He lives on the other side of town. We hadn't talked in months, not because of any drama, just different lives. Jeff's a construction foreman, divorced twice, knows a thing or two about disappointment. "Need a favor," I told him. "Name it. I need a place to crash for a few days. And I need you not to tell Dana." He paused. "She doesn't know you're alive?" "Oh, she knows," I said. "She just doesn't know I'm not coming home." Jeff helped me into his guest room. He didn't ask a lot of questions, which I appreciated. Brought me a sandwich I didn't eat. I just kept thinking about the house I'd bought, the one we refinanced 3 months earlier when interest rates dipped. Dana had said she was too busy to come to the signing, so I handled it myself. Put the mortgage in my name alone. She never asked to see the paperwork. There was also the medical power of attorney I'd set up last year after my buddy Tim had a stroke, and his girlfriend couldn't legally make decisions for him. My niece Megan, Jeff's daughter, helped me with it. Law student, sharp as a tack. Jeff asked gently, "Does Dana know you're here?" "No," I replied, "and let's keep it that way." He handed me a drink. "She took everything?" I nodded. "What are you going to do?" I didn't answer, just took a sip. Tasted like nothing. That night, I didn't sleep. My mind kept playing back every moment of distance. Dana checking her phone under the table, moving money between accounts under the pretense of better interest rates. I had trusted her, blindly. That wouldn't happen again. 3 days after being discharged, I got a text from Harold, our neighbor. "Haven't seen you around, everything okay? Dana's got some guy over, thought you should know." I didn't respond. I just let it sit. That afternoon, Jeff drove me to the main branch of our bank, not the one near our house where everyone knew us. I asked to speak to a fraud specialist, explained that the withdrawals happened while I was unconscious, and showed the message Dana sent. The specialist kept a professional face, but I saw the flicker of pity in her eyes. "Mr. Doyle, we can open a fraud investigation, but given it's a joint account and your wife had access—" "I understand," I cut in. "But I want to try." She nodded. "We'll need hospital records showing you were unconscious." "Not a problem. If this becomes criminal, police will get involved. I'm aware." On the way back, Jeff stopped for gas. I stayed in the car and watched a dad and his 2 kids buy ice cream. Normal life is going on around me. Back at Jeff's, I made 3 calls. 1 to my dispatcher, I needed extended medical leave. 2 to the credit union where I kept a business account. And 3 to Blake, a lawyer friend of Jeff's. "I need to know where I stand," I told him. "With the house, the money, everything." We set a meeting for the next day. That night, I got a text from Dana. "Where are you? Your truck isn't at the depot. Did they tell you I came by?" I didn't answer. Another came. "Cameron, this is ridiculous. You can't just disappear. We need to talk." I put the phone down. Jeff looked over. "She is reaching out?" I nodded. "You gonna respond?" "Not yet," I said. And I meant it. Derek sat in the corner booth of a dimly lit cafe, a laptop open before him, surrounded by documents and encrypted USB drives. The bitterness of his termination had faded, replaced by a cold focus. He wasn't out for revenge, in the traditional sense. He didn't want chaos. He wanted truth and accountability. He had spent the last few weeks piecing together the web of lies that had been used to justify his ousting. What started with the questionable HR memo had unraveled into a far more insidious network of deceit, implicating senior management, especially the new CTO, Victor Harrington. Victor was no ordinary corporate shark. He was strategic, charming in public, ruthless in private. But Derek had discovered emails that revealed Victor had been rerouting internal software budgets through shell firms, most notably Tech Stratus Solutions, a ghost company registered in a remote jurisdiction. Derek traced the payment trail. It led right back to Victor's investment firm. Classic corporate fraud, hidden under fake vendor contracts. Derek copied everything. Bank transfers, internal emails, signed approvals. It was airtight. But he knew whistleblowing came with risks. Careers could be ruined, reputations shredded, even when one was in the right. That's why Derek had chosen an unconventional route. He would control the narrative himself. Through one of his old tech journalist friends, Alicia Mendez, Derek shared the redacted verified files. Alicia ran a respected column in the Tech Sentinel, known for exposing fraud in Silicon Valley. She was skeptical at first. Everyone had a grudge in tech. But after reviewing the documentation, her eyes widened. This is a career-ending exposé, she murmured, scrolling through one of Victor's encrypted emails, decrypted thanks to Derek's skills. "And you're sure you want to go on record?" "No," Derek said coolly, "but I'll give you a pseudonym." "And all the proof you need," Alicia agreed. The story was too big to ignore, but Derek wasn't done. His plan wasn't just about exposure, it was about leverage. He turned his attention to Everfield Systems, a mid-tier cybersecurity firm he had quietly acquired shares in over the last 6 months. Everfield had cutting-edge AI detection systems, something TechCore had tried to develop internally, but failed thanks to budget misappropriations by Victor. Derek proposed a partnership between Everfield and TechCore's remaining honest executives. Quietly, discreetly. His angle? offer a seamless solution to the security gaps Victor's ghost systems had created. But before any agreements could be signed, the Tech Sentinel dropped the bombshell story, the CTO conspiracy, how millions were laundered through fake contracts. The article detailed everything: fraudulent vendors, hush-hush board meetings, falsified audits. While Derek's name wasn't in it, insiders at TechCore immediately suspected his hand. Panic rippled through the C-suite. Victor went silent, then disappeared from public view. By the end of the week, TechCore's stock dropped 18%. Emergency board meetings were held. Shareholders demanded action. The CEO, who had previously ignored Derek's concerns, was now cornered by regulators and media scrutiny. In the chaos, Derek received a call. It was from Lena, the former HR director, who had once been forced to sign off on his termination. "I want to talk," she said. "I have files you'll want to see." They met in a park, avoiding obvious locations. Lena handed over a drive. "These are internal audits Victor had me bury." "There's more," she said, voice trembling. "They plan to gut the pension fund next. You were just in the way." Derek took the drive. "You did the right thing, coming to me," he said. "Now we finish this." With Alicia's help, Lena became the next anonymous whistleblower. The second expose hit harder. Employees revolted. Protests broke out. The board suspended Victor. An independent legal probe was launched. Meanwhile, TechCore approached Everfield Systems and Derek, begging for a merger proposal to stabilize the company. Derek declined a buyout. Instead, he offered consultancy and oversight, under one condition: a full public apology and acknowledgement of wrongful termination. 2 weeks later, a press release hit the wires. TechCore welcomes former IT director Derek Maher as independent compliance strategist in wake of fraud scandal. But Derek didn't smile. This wasn't redemption. This was only part one of his plan. The real reckoning was yet to come. Derek stood in front of the tall, mirror glass headquarters of TechCore, watching his reflection blend with the reflections of those rushing past behind him. It was symbolic in a way. He wasn't coming back as an employee. He was returning as a reminder, a shadow that couldn't be brushed away. The moment he stepped into the building, the lobby quieted. Familiar faces glanced up, their expressions a mix of surprise, guilt, and in some cases, admiration. He nodded politely, keeping his stride calm. A security badge awaited him at the front desk, along with a confidential itinerary. Not a welcome party. Not a celebration. He was here to supervise the post-scandal forensic audit. In the executive boardroom, a newly hired compliance attorney briefed the remaining leadership. Derek stood quietly by the digital whiteboard, allowing the facts to speak first: charts, documents, account logs. The magnitude of Victor's scheme was finally being acknowledged. What stunned everyone most, however, was what wasn't stolen. "There's something you've all missed," Derek said at last, pointing to a timeline of transactions. "The siphoning of software budgets wasn't just about padding Victor's accounts. It was also used to fund a parallel platform developed outside of TechCore's official network." The board leaned forward. The CEO, visibly drained and desperate, asked, "You're saying he built a copy of our product?" "Not just a copy," Derek replied. "An upgraded, weaponized version, designed to be sold to foreign investors. Without regulation, without oversight, and entirely off the books." Stunned silence followed. Derek turned toward the CTO's former office, now sealed off for investigation. "And the beta is already in use by several private defense contractors, under different branding." That hit harder than anything else. The scandal wasn't just financial. It was a matter of national cybersecurity. News of this second breach reached the government within hours. TechCore was now on a federal watch list. The company's future hung by a thread. But instead of gloating, Derek acted. He pulled out a folder and placed it on the conference table. "These are proposals to rebuild TechCore's infrastructure," he said, "under third-party review, independent contractors, and government oversight. We clean house. or we shut down completely." The CEO, wringing his hands, stared at Derek. "And what do you want in return?" Derek looked him in the eye. "I want your resignation, and I want it today." The man nodded, already defeated. The sins of complacency had caught up with him. Later that evening, alone in his apartment, Derek poured himself a glass of wine and sat at his desk. His laptop buzzed, a secure call from Alicia. "You were right," she said, voice crackling through encrypted channels. "Victor's off-grid, private jet to Serbia. He's not acting alone anymore. There's chatter about blackmail and retaliation." "I expected as much," Derek replied. "He'll try to claw back control or silence anyone who stands in the way." "There's more," she added. "The Phantom platform. He's trying to sell it through a tech broker in Prague." Derek's fingers tightened around his glass. Victor wasn't just greedy. He was dangerous, and that meant this wasn't over. Derek prepares for an international legal battle and cyber defense mission, possibly working with federal investigators or international watchdogs. Victor, now essentially a digital fugitive, has gone rogue with a version of TechCore's most sensitive software. Meanwhile, Derek is faced with a moral dilemma: protect his reputation and walk away, or dive deeper into the world of cyber espionage and corporate warfare. Derek knew this was the final chapter. There was no going back. TechCore's fate was sealed, but his battle wasn't over. The stakes had escalated beyond corporate corruption. It was now a fight for the security of national infrastructure. Victor had gone rogue, and the weaponized platform was out there, slipping into the hands of dangerous entities. The phone call with Alicia was brief, but critical. "Victor's moved the software to an offshore server," she said. "We're working with the authorities, but he's a ghost now. We need to act fast." Derek stared at the map on his screen, pinpointing possible locations where Victor's shadow network could have taken root. This wasn't just about tech. It was about power, control, and retaliation. Victor had made a move that could destroy not only TechCore, but the fragile ecosystem of digital security built over the last decade. Derek had no choice but to confront the man who had betrayed him, betrayed everyone. But this time, it wasn't just a boardroom deal or a quiet negotiation. This was personal. Derek set his eyes on a final high-risk play, infiltrating the heart of Victor's operation. It would involve more than just hacking or corporate espionage. Derek would have to use the leverage he had gathered over the past few weeks. There was a weakness in Victor's new network, one he'd overlooked: the encryption. While Victor was busy moving assets, Derek had spent his sleepless nights tracing his steps, unraveling the backdoor codes hidden within the platform's infrastructure. The project was built on stolen code from TechCore, but there was one flaw, one line of miscalculated code that Victor had overlooked. Derek knew it would take him deep into a web of financial transactions, dead drops, and encrypted servers. This wasn't just about taking down Victor. It was about saving the remnants of what TechCore had built and restoring his fractured integrity. The day of the final operation arrived. Derek made his way through an underground hacker market in Prague, the city now buzzing with encrypted deals and shadowy exchanges. The place reeked of danger, but Derek had spent years in boardrooms where the stakes were just as high. What mattered now wasn't the risk, it was getting to Victor first. The broker's office, a darkened space beneath a nondescript building, was where Derek would make his move. It was a dimly lit room, filled with screens and blinking lights. A single man stood in the middle of the room, the broker who had helped facilitate the sale of TechCore's stolen software. Derek stepped forward, his eyes cold and calculating. "You've been busy," he said, watching the man's nervous glances. "I don't know what you mean," the broker stammered, sweating under the pressure. "Cut the act," Derek replied, tapping a finger against his laptop, revealing the encrypted link to Victor's server. "I'm not here to make a deal. I'm here to end this." The broker froze, his face paling. "You can't stop it. There's already interest from the highest bidders." "Not if I destroy it first," Derek said, his voice steady. The man took a step back, but Derek was already moving. His fingers flew over the laptop's keys, bypassing the broker's pathetic firewalls. He wasn't playing games anymore. The system was complex, but Derek had spent weeks studying Victor's blueprint. He knew how it worked, and he knew how to tear it apart. As he worked, the broker made a final attempt. He grabbed his phone, dialing a number, but before he could speak, Derek disabled it with a single command. The broker dropped the phone, realizing his time was up. "You're too late," the broker sneered. "Even if you shut it down here, it's already gone viral. The data's been spread." Derek's smile was small but resolute. "I only need to stop you from selling it." Within minutes, the broker system began to shut down. The digital currency transactions, the coded deals with foreign agents, all disappeared into the ether. Derek had unleashed a final kill switch, a fail-safe built into the software. By the time the broker realized what was happening, everything he had been working for had been wiped out. Victor's network had been compromised beyond repair. 2 weeks later, Derek stood on the rooftop of his apartment building, staring out at the horizon. The city seemed quieter now, or maybe it was just him. His phone buzzed, and he picked it up. Alicia's message was brief but to the point. "Victor's in custody. They've tracked him to an old estate outside Belgrade. His empire's in ruins. You did it." Derek let out a slow breath, not sure whether to feel relief or frustration. The corporate world was broken, yes, but in many ways it had always been that way. It wasn't just about the betrayal, it was about how the system allowed it to happen, how greed could grow without checks. He had exposed that flaw. His fight was over, but not the lessons. As the city hummed beneath him, Derek realized something. He had made his stand, and now it was time to move on. There would be no more Tech Core, no more Victor. But Derek had changed the game. His name was no longer just a memory of corporate failure. He had rebuilt his life from the ashes, and this time, he would do it on his terms. In the end, Derek didn't need revenge. He just needed justice.